Okay, we want to display our drill holes in graphics, and there are several ways that we can do this. First of all, you can go to the database in the status area, click on it and select display drill holes. You can also click on the display drill holes icon and the form will appear. Another way to display drill holes is selecting display from the database menu and choose drill holes. Again, you can come to the status bar area and type DH, which is the function or shortcut for display drill holes. Press enter on the keyboard and the form will appear. Good. Now on this form, we have rescale view to show all holes in plan view. Whenever this box is checked, holes that will be displayed in graphics will be in the plan view, and that's exactly how we want to view our drill holes, so this box will remain checked. Add constraint to holes. Anytime this box is checked, a constraint form appears for you to set or apply constraints to the drill holes. We will not set any constraints for the drill holes. We want to display all the drill holes, so we will uncheck this box. And as you can see, there are several tabs that we can display our drill holes from. The trace stars gives us option for us to select the tables from which we want to display the drill holes, and it represents only a line or a drill hole trace in graphics. In the color stars section, the color is the starting point of the drill hole and it is always located on the topography. You can also view the maximum depth of the drill hole from this section. A design or a repeated decoration can also be set for the various rock types to be displayed along the drill hole trace. And in the labels tab, you can provide a text or note for the assays and geology, which can be displayed along the drill hole trace. And this permits us to view the particular lithology or rock type that is hosting the mineralization. Again, when we are viewing grades or the gold values, you can provide a bar graph to see how the gold values change with each other. You can also display the various metrages of footage along the drill holes, that the drill hole intervals. You can also view the azimuth and depth from this section. Now let's say I want to display my drill holes from a particular table, and I'll select the field from this section. Let's say I want to view my drill holes from the assay table, and the field I want to look at the gold values, so I'll click apply and my drill holes are displayed. I can press enter on the keyboard and go back to the form. This time around, I want to display my drill holes from the color table, and the field I want to display the hole ID. Click apply and the holes are displayed. Now I want to display my drill holes from the geology table, and this time I'm going to look at the lithology or the rock types. Good. As you can see, no matter the tables that we display our drill holes from, the drill holes are uniformly green. This is because we've not set stars to display the data, so all that we are left with is to provide colors for the various rock types and the gold values, which we will do right away. So I'll exit this. Then I'll go to the database and select display drill hole stars. You can also click on the display drill holes icon from the tools bar and the form will appear. Again, you can come to the display and select display drill hole stars. Okay, now on this form we have two sections. We have tables and fields, and we have the display attributes. The tables and fields gives us the options for us to select the various tables or fields that we want to set stars for. And in the display attribute section, we provide the colors and the values that we want to give to the tables and fields. Okay, so we begin by setting stars for the assay, that's the gold values. So I'll click the drop down here, go to the average gold value field, right click on it and select get minimum and maximum range. This will load from our database the minimum gold value and the maximum gold value. So from my database, I have 0.005 to be my minimum gold value and 5.06 to be my maximum gold value. So I'll right click on it and select remove star. This is going to give us a clue or idea our cutoff limit. Okay, so I'm going to apply new star, so I'll click add new star. I'm going to set my own cutoffs depending on what you want to do. You set your own cutoffs. Okay, so I'm going to apply various grade cutoffs for the good categories. Okay, So let's say my first gold value, I want to give it, I'll enter the from value, which is the minimum gold value, and the to value, which is the maximum gold value for a particular cutoff grade. Okay, so my from value is going to be 0 and my cutoff is going to be 0.2. I want to give it a graphics color of white, and I want the graphics color to be the same as the plotting color. Now let me explain the difference between the graphics color and the plotting color. The graphics color is the color that will be displayed in Surpac's graphics window, and the plotting color is the color that will be displayed when you are preparing your data for printing or plotting. Okay, so note the difference. Now I'll go to my next cutoff, and it's going to be 0.2 to 0.4, and I want to give it a color blue. We wouldn't worry ourselves with the graphics pattern and the plotting color. We will do that for the geology, that's the lithologies. My next cutoff is going to be 0.4 to 0.75. Now I'll give it a color green. Then I'll go to the next category, 0.75 to 1.3. That's my cutoff. Then I'll give it a color yellow. I'll go to my next one. The cutoff is 1.3 to 5. And I'll give it a color red. My last category is 5 to infinity, 999, and I'll give it a color magenta. Okay, so right now we've set stars for the various grades. So anytime I display my drill holes and I see the color white, I'll know that the gold values is within this range. Okay, so we are done with setting stars for the gold values. I'll collapse this, then go to the geology and set stars for the lithology. Now I'll right click here and select get field codes. What this means is that Surpac will load all the codes. That's when you are logging, the codes that you use to log. Surpac will load all the codes that you have in your database and bring them to you. So you are going to set stars for the various lithologies. Okay. We will set stars for the lithologies and also do for the redox. Okay. Here the codes can be lumped. When I say the codes can be lumped, for instance, if we had several codes that had the starting letter to be D, we can give them a particular color so that it will make our work very simple and easier to view. Okay, so my first rock type, which is the dike, I want to give it a color. So the code has been indicated here. We are not going to set any cutoff, so the from and the to value will be inactive. So I want to give it a graphics color red. I want it to have the same color as my plotting color. And the graphics pattern, that's the decoration, I want to give it this. And the plotting color, plotting pattern, I'll give it this. Then I'll go to the fill material. I want to give the fill material a white color. Then I'll change the graphics pattern to this one. Okay, we are doing the graphics pattern and the plotting pattern to give the various designs for the different lithologies or rock types, because the drill hole will penetrate that geological formation. Okay, so I go to the gray keys, then I'll give it a color lavender. Then Then I go to the Meta Volcanics. I'll give it a color yellow. So anytime I see yellow when I display my lithologies from the geology table, I will know that it's a metavolcanic rock. Then I go to my phyllites. I'll give it blue. Then I'll change the graphics pattern and the plotting pattern. Then I go to my phyllite schist. As you can see, we have these codes beginning with P, so I can give them the same color. Then I'll give my quartz vein a silver color. Then I'll change the graphics pattern. Okay, I want to increase the thickness of the drill hole trees when I display my lithologies. So I'll come here and increase the thickness to 3. Click on the line and select properties. Now increase the thickness. This will make my work very easier and beautiful to look at. Okay. Okay, so we are done with certain styles for the rock types. Beautiful. Now I'll go to my weathering state, which is the radars. Right, click on it and select field codes. This will load the various codes that I have in the weathering state field of my geology table. So for the completely oxidized zone, I want to give it a red color. Then I'll increase the line thickness. Then the fresh zone, I'll give it blue. Then the strongly oxidized zone, I'll give it yellow. Okay, so we are done with certain styles. Beautiful. So I'll click apply. And now we will display our drill holes to view them again. I'll just go to the database, select it and click display drill holes. Now let's say I want to display the drill holes from the assay table and I want to look at the gold values. Beautiful. As you can see, colors are in there. The colors that we set for the assay values, the red, yellow, green, blue and the white are all here. So anytime I see color white, I'll know that the gold value is between 0 and 0.2. Okay. So I'll go back to the form and this time around I want to look at the geology. I want to view the lithology. Okay. Because I increased the line thickness, that's why the drill hole trees are looking very thick. So these are the colors that we apply for the drill holes. Okay. Let's view the weathering state. We also set the stars for the redox. Beautiful. So the red is my complete oxidized zone, the yellow is my transition, and the blue is my fresh. Alright. So we are done with setting styles for all the fields from the geology and the assay table. Okay. Now we are going to look at some of the things that we can do when we display our drill holes. That's the drill hole manipulation. We can do a whole lot of things. Let's say I want to display my drill holes. I want to display the assay. I want to look at the gold values. Then you can go here, cylinder style. Cylinder is just a tool that can help you view areas of high grades. It will pick it from the stars table. The stars, the grades which are greater will have a high marker, and the lower grades will have smaller markers. So you can go to variable width. So the different grades will have different sizes. So let's click apply to view it. Okay, I'll zoom in, and as you can see, because our magenta was the highest grade, the cutoff grade was 52999. That's why the size is greater than all the other stars. It was followed by the red, which has a cutoff of 1.3 to 5. So the higher the grade, the higher the size. Okay, so I'll go back. Let's say first width. This will display all the sizes being equal. Okay, so the sizes for the various grades will be the same. And you choose no cylinders, no grades will appear. All right. Okay, let's say we're going to do something from the color stars tab. You can change the marker. That's the design of the marker. Let's change it to this symbol. Then the marker size, let's change it to 1. These are some of the things that you would want to do when you display the drill holes. It's just for decoration purposes. The label orientation. How do I want to see my drill hole? I mean the hole ID. You can select along path or centered. Then the field hole ID. The position, I want it to be at the color. You can also right click and add a new one and select a field maximum depth, and then the position is supposed to be the end of the hole. I want to view the maximum depth at the bottom of the hole. That's the end of the hole. So I'll click apply. Okay, still in progress loading. Okay, so these are my drill holes. As you can see, we changed the marker stars to be these circles, and the hole ID is located there. A long path, so it will take the path of the drill hole. Let's look at the maximum depth. It's also located at the bottom of the drill hole. Beautiful. Now let me change it to this. Then I'll decrease the size to 0.5. Then this time around, I want to view the hole ID centered. I'll click apply. So my hole ID has been centered. Likewise, my maximum depth of the hole. So you can do any manipulation to suit what you want. Let's say I want to display the geology patterns. This time I want to display from my geology. I want to look at the lithology. And I want to display the geology patterns from the geology table. The patterns that we set when we were looking at the geology table. So the offset, the distance from the drill hole, I want it to be 1.5 meters away from the drill hole, and the position will be at the right side of the drill hole. So as you can see, this is the pattern that we set for the lavender. So it will display it at an interval of 1 meter away from the drill hole trace. So each color has its pattern. Okay. So this is the pattern we give to the red color, and this is the pattern we give to the blue color. Okay. The offset is just the distance that you want to view that particular area from the drill hole trace. So as you can see, this is the drill hole trace and this is the pattern, 1 meter away from the drill hole trace. Okay, I can also label the gold values. I say I want to label the gold values. Can right click and add. Want to label the geology, lithology. The position of the assay, I want it to be on the left. I want the geology to be on the right. And I want it a distance of 1 meter for the assays and a distance of 4 meters. Okay. Don't want to view anything for the geology patterns. I'll click apply. Okay, so I have provided a text or note along the drill hole trees. So for this particular hole, this is the grades and this is the name of the lithology. Okay, if you want the labeling of the geology to come closer, you just reduce the offset. Okay. Let me collapse the labels. I want to display the gold values in the form of a bar graph. Want to offset it 2 meters from the drill hole trace. I say gold values. So this is something like a line graph. See, the higher the value, the higher the bar or the line. I can go back to the form and change the graph type. This time around, I want it to be a filled bar. So as you can see, a graph has been drawn for the various rock type. Because magenta is our highest cutoff, that's why the bar is longer than the rest, followed by the red bar. Okay. Now, if you want to view the various rock types and their grades that go with them, you can go to edit. You can go to display, edit drill hole. Then you select the drill hole of interest. Let's say I want to view the grades for this particular hole. The form will appear. Now on this form, you select the table. I want to view the grades that correspond to the particular lithology. So I'll select assay and the field will be gold values, and I'll click add and the gold values will be displayed. Now I'll select geology and I want to look at the lithology. So what I'm going to do is I will relate the particular grade with the various lithologies. Okay, so I'll click add. The geology patterns will appear. Okay, to view the grades for a particular meter or footage, you just put the cursor on it. So from 21 to 24, the gold value is 0.3. And the rock type is a metavolcanic rock. Okay, so as you can see, the legend is here for the rock types. When you click on this, the grades will appear on the right side. In case you want to edit this manually, you want to change the grade for this particular meter, that's 21 to 24. You can come here and enter the value. Let me say I want to give it 0.4. So I'll go to the pending edits tab, then it will appear here. So after editing or changing the values for anything that you want to do, you click apply and it will save. But we are not going to change anything here. So these are the gold values. So I'll press cancel. I wouldn't want to save the changes. If I wanted to save the changes, I'll press yes, but I don't want to. Okay, let's say we want to look at the grades and the lithologies for this particular drill hole. So I'll go to display edit drill hole. Then I'll select the hole of interest. Then I'll click assay, add. Okay. Okay, so for this particular footage, 25.5 to 27, the gold value is 0.5, and the rock type is a metavolcanic rock. So you can view the various grades along the particular geologic formation. Okay, don't forget these are the patterns that we gave to the geology, the lithologists, when we were setting the styles. Okay, so you can view this. As you can see, we have the graduation to be 1 meter apart: 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. Okay. Okay, so we do sectioning and digitizing our ore zones. As you can see, let me display my drill holes. I want to do away with the graphs. So as you can see, all the areas that we have the grades will give us the trend of the mineralization. So we'll be doing the sectioning and digitizing our ore trend or mineralization in the next lesson.